Marvel, what the hell are you doing? You make it so hard to defend you. You're just spilling your Marvel juice all over my face when I'm trying to follow along what's going on with the X-Men. Why? Why are you doing this? Today's the problem with, I'm gonna tell you the thing that Marvel has been doing for a very long time, and I am just goddamn sick of it. But first, we've gotta sell you some pictures. Check this out. This is Upper Deck's Master Collection. You can order it from their website and you can get your hands on it. Funny little story about this. This is actually really good. I like it. They're numbered. You can put them in your collection. This is actually going on my wall. They sent this to me in May. So I don't know if this is this is actually not a paid sponsorship. This was sent to me in May. We said we would do a quick tweet for it, and then it got stuck behind the couch, and I forgot they sent it. So I decided instead I would show you guys, because look at how epic this is. I was clearing out my living room and I was like, what is this? Oh crap, I got sent free products. And I pulled it out and I'm like, this is incredible looking, like super awesome. And we just left it there. But now I'm pulling it out to show you guys, and I'm gonna put a link so you can go check out their Masterpiece collection. But there's another thing. I've also got one other thing to sell today. And this is something I'm actually asking for your help with because it is my own product. I've created a hot sauce. This hot sauce is Hatch and Jalapeno. It's whiskey-infused hot sauce. Now, the story behind this one is also funny. I was making a hot sauce here in the house, and I used way too much whiskey, and it just tasted like bourbon in a, pureed form. Well, my friend Houston is actually a chef and turned it into an edible hot sauce. And now we have, this hot sauce is Hatch and Jalapeno. It should be down in our Shopify store, which will be linked to this channel so you can buy this. We're doing an early test batch. We had about 3,000 bottles of this made to see if people are even interested in this. So I'd love to get your opinions on my hot sauce. It's so good, I'll eat it straight. It's actually not super spicy. We went with a mild flavor to start with. The spicy one will be coming out with the second batch. All right, let's get into Marvel. Hey everyone, Future Benny jumping in after we edited down the video. There is one thing that I want to clarify real quick before I rant and rave about the event known as Fall of X. Fall of X is an event and it's just a status quo change. When it comes to the X-Men, Marvel has decided to do something a little interesting. They have retroactively named all the eras of the X-Men to be like this is when we did this status quo. Dawn of X, Reign of X, that kind of a thing. This is the Fall of X era. The problem I have is that it's being promoted as an event, but it's also just a status quo change. My overall point is still going to be the same. Why is there no core Fall of X book? But I just wanted to clarify before all of you go down below and you argue, no, Benny, it's just a status quo change. It is both based on the way that Marvel has promoted it. All right. Let's go listen to me rant and rave for 30 minutes. Okay, so today we're going to talk about X-Men, and I'm going to talk about how this relates to why I am loving manga versus Marvel right now. Yeah, I said it. I said the hot button topic that everyone wants to argue about, manga versus comic books. And you know what? When Marvel does this, manga freaking wins. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on. Over in the X-Men world, we have the Fall of X. The Fall of X is supposed to be the next era of the Krakoan era. If you don't know what the Krakoan era of X-Men is, let me give you a quick run over. Around 2018, 2019, I don't have the dates off the top of my head, but it doesn't really matter. Marvel was getting the rights to the X-Men back, so it was decided to fix the X-Men situation. The X-Men were never gone, but they weren't prioritized, just like the Fantastic Four. Marvel decided to only prioritize the stuff that they had the rights to and could create movies on, and not prioritize stuff they didn't have the rights to. This meant the X-Men. When they got it back, Jonathan Hickman came in and rewrote the X-Men as a whole. He put them on a brand new island known as Krakoa, where they had their own government, their own religions, and basically created their own nation of the mutants over in this area. But the big thing they had was the ability to resurrect their own dead. They got rid of the threat of death. They then did a whole bunch of stuff in the Krakoan era. We had a whole bunch of things happening with the X-Men, which eventually led to the X of Swords event. Then they went back to doing a bunch of X-Men stuff, and then that led to the Sins of the Sinister event. And then we kept going forward until we've now reached the Fall of X. Yes, I know Super X-Men fans, a lot of key things happened in between, but they weren't like headline events that everyone was talking about. The big ones were X of Swords and how disappointing it was. And then we had Inferno. I mean, I don't even really know if that was an event or a single book, but we had Inferno. They did things like the Hellfire Gala. They've done a lot of stuff. I'm not going to try and I've read a bunch of it. I like what they're doing. But now we're at the Fall of X. Now, I was really focused on Night Terrors over at DC for the last 2 months. If you've noticed, the channel's just done a lot of DC again recently because I really wanted to make sure we hit the key points for Night Terrors so that you know what's happening with the dawn of DC. As we were coming to the conclusion of that, I did the Hellfire Gala and we did X-Men 25. And I was like, okay, cool, we're doing the Fall of X now. Let me catch up on all the books that I need to read for the Fall of X. That's the problem. There is no Fall of X book, and I'm tired of this. I am tired of Marvel doing this. The Fall of X is an event, and it's a new era of the X-Men, but it's an event without a core book or through line. Now, if you missed the original story that I did, Hellfire Gala, basically everything's gone crazy. Professor X has been forced to send the X-Men through the gates that potentially have killed them. Killed, because we all know that wasn't going to be their deaths right then, but killed them. Many X-Men and mutants died. We had a whole bunch of stuff went down. But the whole world is against the X-Men now, and they no longer have Krakoa, and they no longer have the Krakoan gates. Now, instead of having Fall of X 1 through 8, Fall of X 1 through 4, Fall of X 1 through 10, Marvel's doing what I absolutely, positively hate. They are making you guess where you need to read this story. But Benny, there's a reading order in the back of the book. You're right. There is a reading order. It's useless. So what that reading order does is that reading order wants you to go buy every single tie-in book, which would be okay. We've had long events. I could deal with that if these all actually mattered to the Fall of X. They do not. And there is no clear indication where you need to read the elements that you want to read. That is the problem and the thing that I am sick of. When we did King in Black, the last big event that everyone got excited about, because we've done other events and no one got excited about things like X, but the last big event that everyone got excited about, we had King in Black 1 through 6, and they also did Venom. Okay, now you could correlate Venom to being the core plot. We had a whole bunch of spin-offs, but we had King in Black 1 through 6 or 8 or however many issues it was. And we also knew Venom was the core plot to King in Black. When DC just did Night Terrors was 6 issues total. Now, they did the stupid Alpha and Omega thing, but it still counts, okay? They did 6 issues. And if you were reading all of them, Superman was kind of important. Batman was the only one that kind of related to the overall storyline. And even that was very loosely. You could have only read Night Terrors and you would know what's going on. If you were reading only King in Black, you would know what's going on. If you only read the Fall of X book in Fall of X, you can't. It doesn't exist. So what they did is they're telling you to go read a whole bunch of Fall of X tie-ins. Some of them aren't even properly flagged as a Fall of X tie-in, but they're a Fall of X tie-in. So in the middle of Fall of X, I'm going to start with this first complaint. In the middle of Fall of X, we have another event, an event in an event, inside of an event. There's an event that they're claiming is a part of Fall of X. Weapons of Vengeance. Weapons of Vengeance is Ghost Rider versus Wolverine, which my first reaction was, no way Weapons of Vengeance is tied into what's going on with Wolverine, because that should probably just be a separate event. It's not, according to the reading list. Inside of Fall of X is a crossover event with Ghost Rider and Wolverine, where Wolverine's getting like in touch with his vengeance side. I haven't fully read it all the way through because I need to finish it for this weekend so we can get it on the channel, but it's really cool. But apparently it's a part of Fall of X. What? So Weapons of Vengeance, which is apparently like another 6-issue crossover miniseries happening over the course of August, is inside of the Fall of X event. Okay, well, where's Fall of X? You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. If you want to know what's happening with Fall of X, it seems to be in X-Men and Immortal X-Men. That's it. Okay? Every other book in this reading order is garbage and doesn't pertain to what's actually going on. What it is the group on the cover reacting to the events of Fall of X, but they are not doing anything with Fall of X, or maybe they will at issue 5, but we're left to guess. I've written down all the current issues that have come out to tell you what has happened in each and every single one of these, and then you try to argue with me that they are a part of Fall of X. I texted Rob this morning. He's been busy for like a month and a half, so we haven't gotten our morning breakfast, and I was like, what is going on with this Fall of X crap? I can't follow what's happening. And he's like, no, dude, there's a reading order. You just got to read the reading order. And my reaction to him was, half the reading order doesn't relate to Fall of X. So what the hell do I read to read Fall of X? And then he LOL'd at me. But anyway, tying into what's going on with Fall of X, we have a book called Children of the Vault. Children of the Vault is following The Vault, which is a side plot inside of the Krakoan X-Men era, which I really do enjoy. It's a world that moves much faster than our current world. So they are hundreds of centuries ahead of us because they're removed from time itself. They're super advanced, but they also want to conquer the planet Earth. So they've been regulated to being in the vault. Due to the Fall of X, the vault has been able to open up and they are out in the real world attempting to push people forward down the evolution pattern from what I can pretty much gather. They've sent out a virus that is in people's brains and they're trying to do this. Because of this, Cable is now teaming up with, I forget his name, but another guy, and they're going to figure out a way to stop this virus. It is a 5-issue miniseries happening inside of Fall of X. It has nothing to do with Fall of X from what I can tell. It is happening because of Fall of X, but it's in the reading order. The X-Force book could be in it majorly, might not be majorly in it, because the X-Force book kicks off a new team of X-Force. If you haven't been following X-Force, it had Wolverine, he brought in Deadpool, they had a whole thing going on, but then Beast went evil. We're going to be covering that in the X-Men stories this weekend or next weekend, and then turned against X-Force, so they had to remake a new team with their pseudo-leader Sage. They've put Colossus in charge of the new X-Force team, and they all went to the Hellfire Gala, so their book is kind of happening alongside the original initial thing, but he seemingly has led them into a trap. We don't know what's going on with that. It may be important, it might not be important, but at least that one feels like it's happening in the Fall of X. The Uncanny Avengers is Captain America, which, for the record, this is a part of my other complaint. They're not putting a Captain America book in the Fall of X. We're not making a Fall of X line wide, everyone in Marvel's involved in it. If you want your hero involved, there's only one superhero that is not an actual mutant that is involved in the Fall of X, and I'll get to him. Everyone else is being put in other books, including Uncanny Avengers, which is a 5-issue miniseries where Captain America is building up the Uncanny Avengers that he did a while ago. If you don't know who the Uncanny Avengers are, it was the Unity Squad. Captain America wanted to make a team that had a mutant, had superpowered individuals, and at the time had Inhumans, but I'm pretty sure they're all dead right now. And if they're not dead, who cares? But anyway, the whole idea was to have a merging of the teams that would be front-facing for the public to see. Anyway, they're chasing down Captain Krakoa, which, when Cyclops was thought to be dead, became his identity. But Cyclops, as we find out in Uncanny Avengers, is actually tied up and being tortured by Mr. Sinister. But not really Mr. Sinister. It's actually Dr. Stasis, which is a clone of Mr. Sinister, and he's the one torturing Cyclops. It sounds like I'm rambling, but I'm not, because it's all over the place! But anyway, let me keep going. Cyclops is tied up by Stasis, aka Mr. Sinister, and the Captain Krakoa character is going around causing problems with the Brotherhood of the Mutants. So the Unity Squad now has to go take care of the Brotherhood of the Mutants because of this situation, which was created by Fall of X. But does it pertain to the Fall of X? Doesn't seem it. Doesn't seem like it matters, because Dr. Stasis, even though he initiated the Fall of X, apparently has nothing to do with what's going on, because now he's related to creating a villain to fight against the Unity Squad. Anyway, moving forward, we have the Immortal X-Men. Now this one seems important. In the main event, Professor X had his brain messed with or put on hold or in some way. He was basically tricked. Not tricked, he was forced into putting all the mutants through the Krakoan gates to send them to Arakko. What's Arakko, you ask? Oh, let me fill you in on that one. That is the planet of basically demon mutants that they made a merger of Arakko and Krakoa because the two islands wanted to have sex. So in order for that to happen, we had to like merge the two islands because Island Sex apparently doesn't have any genitalia. But anyway, we're gonna merge the two islands to do their sexy thing, and that was the fallout of the X of Swords, which for the record had like no swords. Cool name, but what the hell? What the hell, Jonathan Hickman? But anyway, the two islands like merged themselves together, which made like these bloodthirsty evil mutants that we've never heard of. On a Racco come over and merge with the Krakoa. Because they were so bloodthirsty, it was decided that they were going to terraform Mars like 1 or 2 Hellfire Galas ago. And they terraformed it, and that's where a Racco is. So back in the Hellfire Gala 2023, Professor X was going to send all the mutants through. They were going to be banished to a Racco. They were being kicked off the planet Earth because of everything that was going on. But then he thought that he killed them all because he doesn't know where they sent them. Immortal X-Men follows Professor X in his reaction to thinking that he killed all the mutants. I say thinking because in that first issue of Immortal X-Men, that is the tie-in, which I believe is issue 18 or 17, it'll say Fall of X on it because, everything has to have that freaking tag on it, even though it's not important. In that issue, they show that they're actually banished to some desert. I don't know if it's on Earth, if it's on another place. They're banished somewhere. They're not dead. But that's what that issue is about. Professor X, and where do the mutants go? The other one is actually the X-Men. That one seems to be tied in as well. That one is following Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat, aka it would just go with Kitty. She's become like the most deadly X-Men ever. She's like warping a guy's gun into his brain so he die. It's crazy. Awesome. But it seems to be the surviving X-Men of the fallout and how they're trying to fight against what's going on. So Immortal X-Men is following the actual like mutants that have been banished in Professor X, while X-Men seems to be following the X-Men and their reaction to what's going on. Okay? Once again, Children of the Vault just appears to be loosely tied in because Cable's doing his thing on the offside. X-Force may or may not be tied in its entirety. An Uncanny Avengers could be tied in? Is this where we're going to find out where Cyclops gets free? Or is it just being mentioned there because Captain Krakoa is supposed to be Cyclops? So we at least need to like reference that it is not I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know. All right, so moving down the list of books that have actually come out right now. I didn't even write down Iceman. So Iceman seemingly died in Hellfire Gala. He got melted, okay? But there's now a comic book, Iceman #1. Now, Iceman's book, here's the description, and this is why I didn't read this one. The Omega-level mutant as you've never seen him before. After the events of this year's can't-miss Hellfire Gala, Bobby Drake, aka Iceman, sets his sights on heroic deeds like never before. But as new situations develop that links Iceman to his Antarctic ice palace, he'll have to be slicker than ever to accomplish his mission before Orcus knows what hit them. All new adventure that's going to push him to his limits and beyond. Now that doesn't say anything about Hellfire Gala other than it's coming out of Hellfire Gala. Okay, that kind of thing does happen. When I asked our community on our Discord, which you can find the link to down below, what was going on in this Iceman, the only reaction I got was the book is about Bobby cheating on his boyfriend and getting a new one. No one said anything about Hellfire Gala. I don't know if that guy was trolling me. He's a pretty regular on the channel, so I kind of left it alone. Was like, you know what? I got plenty to read with Fall of X. Even the description doesn't say Bobby getting revenge for his supposed death. Nothing like that. So I was like, whatever, we're moving on. Dark X-Men is actually a fallout from Dark Web. So Dark Web, if you don't know, was in a Spider-Man event. It wasn't an X-Men event. It was kind of a Spider-Man, X-Men, Miss Marvel crossover. Why was Miss Marvel there? I don't know. No one else seems to as well, but then she died in Spider-Man. Anyway, moving back to Dark Web. Dark Web was those 3 characters and Venom. 4 characters were crossing over. At the end of it, Madeline Pryor, which is the evil version of Jean and a clone who carried Jean's children, and it's a whole thing in itself that we're not getting into right now, decided to become like the queen of limbo, and she was going to be a good guy. So now with the X-Men dead and everyone eradicated, the Goblin Queen, aka Madeline Pryor, aka a clone of Jean Grey with kids who doesn't have actual kids, has decided she's going to make her X-Men, and that X-Men team is going to get revenge. Will it be important? I don't know, but it sounds like the coolest tie-in that isn't really tied in. Also, they got like the robotic Wolverine in that team because apparently that thing is still running around. It was used against them and they pinned him down and it's like, oh, his name is Albert and he's going to join. We've got a robot Wolverine. And I'm just like, of course you've got a robot Wolverine. We're back to putting Wolverine in everything because Wolverine's not in the X-Force book, because he's fighting against Ghost Rider because that's related to Fall of X. We decided to swap him out with X-23 Wolverine. I have to say it that way because if we go all the way back to my other argument about there being legacy characters with the same goddamn name, if I say Wolverine, you think Wolverine Logan. So I gotta tell you, X-Force now has X-23 Wolverine on the team, but don't worry, we've got Robot Wolverine, aka Albert, over on the Dark X-Men. And what's going on with Wolverine? Well, he's fighting Ghost Rider in an apparent tie-in event that is happening in the middle of Fall of X. Anyway, let's go forward. As a side note, there's also 2 X-23s running around. We have Old Lady Laura and we have Young Laura. We still have Dakin. We still have Honey Badger, which is like 2 steps degree removed clone of Wolverine. Like, they're like, oh, it's a clone of X-23. She's a clone of Wolverine. All you did was clone the clone. It's still Logan. It's all Logan. Logan is everywhere again. And I'm kind of happy about that, but that's a different argument in itself. All right, next up. Those are the books that I paid a lot of attention to and wanted to know what was going on. Let's talk about the rest of the tie-ins. The ones that are like the Bobby Drake tie-in that don't actually sound like they're a part of Realm of X. Realm of X is the next thing. A part of Fall of X. Realm of X is the next book. Realm of X is the story of Magic and her X-Men team, and they've been lost in an extra dimensional portal because her powers don't work right. Why don't her powers work right? Because of the Fall of X. That is the tie-in. Her and her team are lost in another dimension known as Vanaheim, and they need to find a way home in the 5-issue miniseries, Realm of X. How is that related to the Fall of X? Now, Magic fans, you got a book. That's going to be cool. Fall of X people, you've now added more books that I need to buy to know what's going on. And there's probably very few people that are like me who can buy all of these books and then write them off. I'm pretty sure most of you guys can't do that. Next up, we have Alpha Flight. Who's Alpha Flight? Oh, did you forget all about the world famous and super amazing Canadian team Alpha Flight? Because I sure as hell did. Anyway, Alpha Flight is apparently I didn't even read this one. They're literally it's a Fall of X tie-in where Alpha Flight is gonna see if they can rebuild Alpha Flight in the middle of Fall of X. Congratulations, Canadians, you got your team back. It's probably got a Wolverine on it. Anyway, next up, we've got Iron Man 8 and 9. Why is Iron Man involved? Well, because the new Sentinels are using Stark Tech to be what they are. So Iron Man has to be involved to try and fight against them. Have I read those books? No, because we're behind on Iron Man, and I'm trying to get those videos out that Dan did for you guys a long time ago, and I just don't have room in the schedule to also be doing Iron Man versus Sentinels. Sounds like it might be important. Maybe towards the end. I mean, it sounds like Iron Man's being involved in the same way that he was involved in Carnage Reigns, which was a Miles Morales and Carnage book. And then out of the blue at the ending, Iron Man's like, they're using my tech. I'm now here too. Like, it just feels like that's what's happening with Iron Man. I feel like he's lost relevance in some way, shape, or form because the runs that have come out are good, but they're not like incredible and like topping the charts. And I feel like Marvel just wants to put Iron Man in everything. And then we've got Miss Marvel. Why is Miss Marvel getting a tie-in book? Well, of course, because she was announced to be a mutant. So of course she has to be involved in what's going on. And she has a movie coming out. So we have the mutant, I think it's called The New Mutant, Miss Marvel. Like, I haven't read that one yet. I have a weird feeling it has nothing to do with what's going on. It's just her dealing with the mutant powers, which I am not against at all. Give me that book. I'm going to read that book. But again, tell me, how does this relate to Fall of X? From reading all of these books and then looking at the descriptions of these last few that I didn't read, I can tell you that it looks like Hellfire Gala, X-Men, and Immortal X-Men are the ones you need to read. That is the Fall of X core plot. Okay? X-Force and Uncanny Avengers are the 2 outliers that may or may not end up being wrapped into the storyline. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other books on that reading list. 7 other books on that reading list that, from what I can tell by reading the book itself or reading the synopsis, are not related to what's actually going on. They're attached to the fallout. Now, Benny, why are you complaining about this? This is what Marvel and DC have done forever. You're right. You're 100% right. DC just did this in an event known as Lazarus Planet. But there was a core running theme. There was a Lazarus Planet book Okay? Night Terrors just did this. Hundreds of tie-ins, but there was a Night Terrors book you could read. All right? You know what else just did this? King in Black. Dark Web was all over the place too, but they gave you a reading order, and the reading order progressed the main plot throughout the books. It was Dark Web Alpha, then Spider-Man, then Venom, then this one, and it progressed the main plot. My complaint isn't that they're doing so many tie-ins with these characters dealing with the fallout of Fall of X. I am okay with that, because if you're enjoying Fall of X, you want to get more of it. How is Wolverine dealing with it? How is Ghost Rider dealing with it? Never thought I'd ask that question, but apparently somebody did. How is Alpha Flight dealing with it? The Canadians want to know. This... How are the people... who's watching The Vault now? The Vault is free to get out. What's going to happen? These are good questions. I like this. My complaint is they're not telling you how to read Fall of X. They're throwing all of these books at you. Now, all the ones I read, and I'm probably missing one or two, are the August releases. Marvel, on average, releases their books for $4.99 or higher. That means that if you wanted to read everything tagged as a Fall of X book, you got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 books. That means that if you're a comic book fan with a limited budget like I was when I was in the Army and I could do $20 a week, $50 of your money this month is going to Fall of X related books. And they are not telling you which ones are the important ones. Are you also reading Spider-Man and its 80 tie-ins? Are you also following what's going on with Venom? Are you also reading DC comic books? How about image books? How about buying your weekly manga? How about that stuff? Are you doing all of this? They're asking you to spend $50+ because Hellfire Gala, I think, was like $9.99, and I'm pretty sure some of these are a little bit more money because they're beefier books. But let's just say at least $50 on X-Men related content alone, okay? And there is a core storyline happening. There is a Fall of X actual plot, and they are not clarifying what is a specifically important storyline and what isn't. The reason why I'm making this video, even though this has been a problem for years going on with Marvel and DC, is simply put, it's gotten really bad when it comes to the X-Men. Because when Spider-Man did it with Dark Web only like 6 months ago, it was 4 books bouncing around, and there was a through line going through them. But with the X-Men, they want every possible interesting mutant to give you their reaction to the Fall of X. And that's fine. But that also means that we have 10 books in August related, and for some reason, Iron Man is a part of our X-Men event. Now, I said it earlier in this video, and this is probably one of our longest problem with videos in a while, like, holy crap. But manga, this is why, okay, so recently, I've been reading manga for a very long time. I read it on the side, I enjoy it. But I have a prime example of a great manga, which has become, if not, it's up there, it's getting up there, but it's becoming my favorite storyline of all time, One Piece. Okay? One Piece is incredible. I was suckered into reading it almost at the beginning of this year, and I've been posting up videos about it on my Comicstorian channel, my reactions to the chapters. And what started as me being suckered into reading it by a friend has turned into me now reading 550 chapters of One Piece over the course of this year. And it has been an exhilarating and amazing experience. And the number one reason is when I want to read One Piece, I load up the Shonen Jump app, and I load the next chapter. I don't have to Google a reading list. I don't have to look on the front of the manga to find the next chapter. I don't have to guess if this next chapter is going to actually be related to the One Piece story. I just keep reading. It's the easiest thing for me to read on my list currently, because right before this was Night Terrors, where I had to read all the Night Terrors books to find the ones that tied in. Marvel and DC both do this, but at least there's normally a core book running through them, so you could at least get the important information in Night Terrors 1 through 4. Or you can get the important information in King in Black 1 through 8, or Avengers versus X-Men versus the Eternals 1 through 4, whatever book is going on. Yes, important information is in the spin-off books, which is why I always make these videos where I'm like, hey, in Night Terrors, you also might want to read Batman, because it does kind of relate to what's going on. But the core story still happens, and that is not happening in the Fall of X. They're not telling you just go read Immortal X-Men and X-Men if you just want to, on a budget, read Fall of X. They're telling you go spend $50+ and hopefully you can follow along. That is a problem. Every manga works in a one linear focus, and I'm getting sick and tired of anytime I want to read Marvel or DC, I have to practically do a thesis paper on the proper reading order because it boils down to read to page 10 on this book. Now you got to jump over to this book and read 7 pages into that book. Now you got to go over to this book and read to page 10. Now back to the first book and read 11 to 24. Now go back to the second book. Like, that's how some of these events are getting structured. Just put it in one book. Just give me a straight line. And if you're not going to do that, start doing the stupid bullet points. Hey man, I found Professor X over on an island. He's really distraught. Read Immortal X-Men number 18 or whatever number it happened to be. Why is that so difficult to give me a starting point and tell me where to go next? Like, to actually read the story. Don't just tie in 50 books and be like, yo, you want to understand Fall of X? Well, we're not going to tell you how to follow Fall of X. We're going to give you 50 books, and you got to figure it out. They're all related. Like, the vault is only opened because of Fall of X. You know? The Dark X-Men have only been made because of Fall of X. But if you want to read the Fall of X and how the X-Men and Professor X are dealing with it, it's kind of scattered. You know? You'll figure it out. Because you got to read X-Men and Immortal X-Men, but if you want to follow Cyclops, he's over in Uncanny Avengers. So if you didn't read Uncanny Avengers, how are you going to know what happened to Cyclops after he had his back broken? You got to go read that one as well. And Magic, well, yeah, I know she says her powers are on the fritz and disappears. Where's she? Realm of X. Does it relate to Fall of X? No. It's pretty much an episode of Sliders, the TV show from the 90s, where she's just lost trying to go home. I'm tired. I'm so tired of... I love this story. I love Fall of X. It is great. I love DC and Marvel comics. I do. I love the superhero genre. I do. But they are making it a chore to be a fan. Or you just got to be the super X-Men fan and read every single X-Men book and just don't even give a crap about other stuff. Like, that's what we're at this point. It's tiring. I'm tired of it, Marvel. Why can't you just do Fall of X 1 through 8? The X-Men, Professor X, the core events are all happening in there. And then give me all these fun tie-ins. Let me read all these tie-ins. Let me choose which ones I want to read. They're basically clickbaiting and trapping you into buying books you wouldn't normally buy or have zero interest in. I have zero interest in Alpha Flight. And I don't know anybody who's a fan of Alpha Flight. I'm not saying there aren't Alpha Flight fans out there, but I don't know them. At this point, guys, the argument's just going to go around, and I'm going to just start arguing that manga is better, blah, 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 blah. But no, it's just the manga story structure. Manga story structure is better. Having a through line that a normal person can read is better, okay? I don't care if it's Night Terrors 1 through 4, if it's King in Black 1 through 8. I don't care if it's Civil War, the main book, where it keeps key components out. Secret Empire kept out one key component. Where did they get the answer to fix the problem? It was in a side book, and that is fine. That is fine. Because Secret Empire 1 through 8 had all the important information, and then they got a MacGuffin weapon. That's fine. Okay? You still told me the main plot in a book that I could just go buy. And that made me want to read more. Don't trick me. Just tell me the story, and then I will want to read more. You know what I wish? There was spin-offs in One Piece about each of the areas they go to that I could go read. I want more One Piece, and that's because there is one story going through introducing me to everything in One Piece. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you feel the same way that I feel, let me know in the comments down below. I'm aware this has been going on for decades. That doesn't mean that I'm not tired of it. I'm tired of guessing what I should not have to spend an hour picking out the reading order, finding a list online by some random website called the Comic Book Herald or something like that to tell me how to read it. Because the back of the book just says all of the books. You know what also says that? Every stupid website that just copy and pasted that stupid list. Every list is read everything. And the ones on the internet are even worse, by the way, because they'll go read everything, also read everything up until then. Oh, do you want to know how we got to Fall of X? Well, you got to read X-Men since 2018. Are you not an X-Men fan since 2018? Well, you got to start all the way back with how this whole thing started. Hawks and Pox, it all started there. You got to read all the way from Hawks and Pox all the way till now. And if you don't read it, then you don't know what's going on. And I'm sorry to tell you, that's just how comics work. Why is that how they work? It seems like a very fixable problem. X-Men 1 through 400. The story of Hawks and Pox. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys think. I want to know your opinions. If you do want to help me out with my new business venture, please consider checking out our hot sauce. It is kind of mild. It's got a good, kind of a spread. We wanted to make it a little thicker than your standard hot sauce, hence the bottle. You can put it on sandwiches. I put it on a lot of things such as pulled pork. Really good. I enjoy it, but I might be biased. So let me know what you think by buying a few bottles and leaving us a review. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time right here at the Comicstorian nitpicks and yells about things for 30 minutes.